What's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got an update for you guys on the tropics. So we have yet another round of, very intense and just, frequent development out in the Atlantic just after we had major hurricane, Category 4 hurricane Idalia that made landfall in uh, the Florida Peninsula early on Wednesday morning. The storm moved into Georgia, knocking out tons of power, creating a lot of flash flooding, very bad scene out there. And then it moved through the Carolinas, and then it kind of moved out to sea right pretty much like that. It's still raining though a little bit out here on the North Carolina coastline. Excuse me, but you can see for the most part that the center of Idalia is pretty much right here. It's moving out to sea. It may get a little bit closer to the northeast coastline. We're gonna really have to pay attention to that. I'm gonna point that out in a few minutes, but I just want to show you guys that some model guidance has been trending towards the idea of. Let me get back to our radar here, but the some model guidance has been trending to the idea where the storm will move kind of like this, and then it'll almost run into the coastline, and then it'll see that the coast is there, and then just go out into the North Atlantic, kind of like that. It's going to be very weird, but there's multiple ways that the storm could go. I mean, we also saw a chance that the storm could go kind of like this. Now it's looking like it's going to go like this, and like this. It's very very weird, but we will definitely I'll stay with you guys on this. I'll make sure that I can get as many updates in on the storm, but there aren't any hurricanes that are near the United States anymore. So I mean, I'm telling you guys, we actually, believe it or not, have been lucky so far this hurricane season. We were forecasting, 2 to 3, maybe even up to 4 major hurricanes to hit the United States. So far, we've only had one, and we're nearing the peak of the season, so we're pretty much midway there. I think the peak of hurricane season is September 10th, so we're pretty much, we're 10 days away. So this is why we're seeing those hurricanes getting closer. We saw Franklin really close. Franklin was right here at one point, and then we saw Idalia just moving through Florida. But both were major hurricanes. Both got at least very close. One in which made landfall. So that's a sign that the tropics are definitely heating up. And then behind all this action, we've got even more stuff happening out in the Central Atlantic that we're going to talk about today. So once again, we're looking at the radar here. You can see also we got a band of steady rainfall moving through the northwest. I'm going to be talking about this today just because there might be a flooding threat with this, because we're going to see a lot of continuous rainfall as we not only get through today but into the next few days. So we really got to pay attention to that flood threat. Most of the heavy rain is moving its way into the northwest California coastline. That's going to move into parts of northern Nevada and southern Idaho. So we really got to watch out for some flash flooding with that. But for the most part, that's pretty much it for your radar. So we're going to be moving on to our alerts. And you can see, for the most part in the southeast, you got some flash flood warnings up and down this the exact area where Idalia's eye wall and eye moved through. That's just for those areas that are still flooded. I'm telling you right now, as I speak, there is still catastrophic flooding ongoing. It's the rain has stopped, luckily, but the flooding, the water is still there. It's still in houses. It's still on those streets. So it's still very, very dangerous out in these areas up here, the counties that go all the way up from the Big Bend region of Florida up into Virginia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. And then because the storm hasn't quite made it off the coast of North Carolina, there are still some tropical storm warnings in effect. I don't think we're going to really be seeing any tropical storm conditions as for now. It may still be raining out in those extreme coastal regions of North Carolina, but the storm is for the most part off the coast. So that's it for the alerts for the southeast. There also are heat advisories out for southern Florida. That's just for that area that didn't quite get hit very hard by those outer bands of Hurricane Idalia. You got some scattered red flag warnings out here for that goes down for parts of western Louisiana, parts of eastern Texas, some scattered areas of the mountainous regions of the western U.S. we do have some flash flood. We have actually no, we do have flash flood watches. Yes, flash flood watches that go out for some of these areas in Nevada, some of these areas in Arizona. Mainly a just a regular flood watch. It's monsoon season, guys. That's why we're seeing these flood watches. I know you must be some of you must be pretty scared out here if you're in the Southwest. Why we're seeing all of a sudden so many flood watches and warnings and stuff. That's because when we get enter monsoon season, we see all this monsoon moisture rise up from the Pacific, which currently is in an El Nino phase. Which means that the Pacific Ocean is gets very very hot, gets warmer than average, which creates a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. Then we see that moisture start rising up and surging into the southwestern U.S. That's why we're seeing all this flooding because there's just a lot of rainfall dropping down on these areas, and when you see monsoon season come up, that's where you get those storms where this is one of those storms where you get like a season's worth of rain. I mean that's something that we've seen from experience. But we also do have high wind advisories out for parts of uh, these mountainous regions of Nevada, California. Those winds have been gusty. We've seen this not only today but throughout earlier this week. We did see some pretty gusty winds out here. I think we got a wind gust of around 65 miles per hour somewhere up here. So they definitely are gusting pretty high. But that's gonna be it for the rest of the the country. You can see up here in the northwest, we don't have any flood watches or warnings, but let me tell you, we're going to get that very very heavy rain. But we actually do. We do have a few counties out here in California, that area I pointed out on the radar, where we're gonna have that heavy rain. You guys are under, it looks like, a flood watch. Okay, so we really gotta make sure that we are ready for whatever is going to happen with that rainfall. So I just want to show you guys this map here. As you know, again, Florida did get hit by Major Hurricane Idalia, made landfall as a Category 4 major hurricane. Then, it was, if you look at Zoom Earth, it's a great site. It shows you exactly where the eye runs through. And, the point where it was a Category 4 hurricane was all the way up until here. So it moved into the Big Bend region, impacted all these areas, and here it was a Category 3 hurricane and then moved up into Georgia. Okay, so some people, you're probably hearing that the storm made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. I think that it definitely made landfall as a Category 4. But, you know, regardless, we did have some major, devastating impacts out here. We look at these county names with our power outage map here. We're looking at our Florida power outage map. I mean, already you could see over 100,000 people are still without power in Florida, in just this little area of northern Florida. You can see the rest of Florida looks unharmed. Only one county, one person is out in both of these counties out here. Okay, I mean, you can see 55, 50, 210. Okay, that's a lot, but that was just those outer bands of the hurricane. You go to where the eye wall moved through. I mean, these counties got hit very, very hard. If you look at the numbers here, like Madison County is actually completely out of power. So look at this right here. Madison County, there's not a single person in Madison County that currently has power. You can see we have 11,000 and 411 people are tracked out here in Madison County for the power map here. 11,477 don't have power. So this county out here in Madison is completely blacked out. Pretty much the same. Yep, same thing for Taylor County. Not quite Jefferson County. Jefferson County has slowly started to work with the damage here. Same thing for you guys in Hamilton County. You guys have actually pretty much been the first ones to get going. Dixie County, same thing. Lafayette. But yeah, I mean, these counties got hit very hard. We look at Taylor, which probably was hit the hardest. I would say Taylor got hit the hardest. 100% of Taylor is out of power. I'm telling you guys, this is where we had the 10-foot storm surge. We had major flash flood, not only on the coast but just everywhere around the county. And we had those devastating winds that were over 120 miles per hour. So I mean, this is what's going to happen if a major hurricane makes landfall, not only in Florida but in any state of the United States along the coast. Things like these can happen, and so we see still hundreds of thousands of people still without power out here in Florida. So it's very sad to see that. But again, I mean, multiple counties out here in Florida are 100% blacked out with no power. So I mean, we're even we're here on Thursday, a day after the storm made landfall, and we're barely recovering. They're still trying to shove out all the smaller branches out of the way, and then trying to get to the big ones. They're still nowhere near getting the power restored. It's still a very very slow process. So again, I feel very very bad for these people out in Florida, just because they've been through this. Last year with Ian. Ian was even worse. They have to go through this again. So just warning you guys that whenever something like this happens, here you go. I mean, this is what's going to happen. Thousands of people are going to be without power. So we'll now move on to our temperatures, our daily temperature here. So yes, today is the 31st. So we are almost in September. Wow. So fall is coming up. I like fall. Fall, we kind of transition from summer into winter, so we'll start seeing some more snow. We'll get some more snow in the action. I think we're going to have to get all the way like deep into fall, like late October to November, to really start seeing the snowfall. But we're getting close to winter, which is one of my favorite times of the year. So, excuse me. We look at our daily temperatures. You can see we still have a heat dome. The heat dome is very, very high still. It's all the way up here in the central U.S. Most of our, warmest temperatures are in the core of the heat dome is out here in the Central Plains. Widespread upper 80s and lower 90s. Some of you down here in Texas, it's the same drill. You're staying in the 90s for the most part, but some of you could get up to 100 degrees. And then we go to 4 p.m. or 8 p.m. Excuse me. We look at the desert temperatures out here in the Arizona-California border. You guys are going to be slightly cooler today because there are a few pockets of cooler temperatures out here. You can see 105, 102 degrees. Still brutally hot, but not as hot as it used to be earlier in the summer. But look at this. This is a pocket of a lot of deep monsoon moisture. You're seeing these yellows, these blues. And look at this. You're getting all the way down to the 50s, the 60s. So it is downright chilly out here. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be chilly, but it would be definitely a lot cooler. But it's very very muggy in these areas. So yeah, it's not cool, but it's definitely like cooler than it used to be. But we can see these deep shots of cooler air moving through the northeast as we get into the overnight hours. We're going to start seeing this process move into as we go into the fall season, because the higher temperatures, the heat dome, and the high pressure is going to be a little bit weaker. So, because we're just naturally going to have those cooler temperatures, so that's going to allow more room for the colder air up here in northern Canada to move down all the way into the northern U.S. We see the northeast cooling down at night, getting back into the 50s, and then sooner than you know it, we'll see the 50s as your high temperature for your daily temperature. But for tonight, for most of you in the western U.S., you could expect anywhere from 50 to up to 70. If you're closer to the desert, maybe up to 80 degrees. So it's going to be it for your temperatures. We're going to be moving on to the northwestern U.S., looking at how long the rain will fall, and we'll see kind of how much rain exactly will fall. We're not going to look at the totals, but I just want to show and explain why we're seeing this this flooding threat. So we'll see. We'll go out to our to where we are now. It's about 5 p.m. So this is exactly where we are now. We see a pretty big band of rainfall moving its way across parts of western Oregon and southern Washington State. It's going to be moving pretty much southwest, southwest, and it's going to be kind of twisting around the center, kind of center of the storm. It's not an organized storm. It's just one of these these pockets of rainfall that just this pockets of rainfall that moves through the area. All right, here we go. We got a low pressure center right here moving through Northern California. This is where we're gonna have that main. I think this is where we're gonna have that main flooding threat right here in Northern California. You see those thunderstorms. These are thunderstorms in this yellow, orange, and red. But all the way around it, you still have steady rainfall. And look, this continues all the way through the night. We're getting all the way to 10 p.m. This is tomorrow night, and it's still raining. Okay, in the same exact area. Keep watching both areas, specifically this one here. It's still raining. We're still raining. We're getting to like Friday. I don't know. This might even be Saturday, and it's still raining. Yeah, this is Saturday. Um, so we get all the way to Sunday, and it's still raining for some areas up here. I mean, you see here that the rain might not be heavy all the time, which is certainly a thing that it's not uncommon to see. A lot of light rain, build up to flooding rain. But there will be some pockets of steadier rainfall that's going to be heavier. But the fact that we're seeing the flash flooding is because we're getting all this rainfall that's just falling for a very very long time. That's why we're getting all the flooding, because all the rain, it builds up in the streets, and then it can get to a point where it clogs uh, drains, or just on those streets that have poor drainage systems, and then just it keeps flowing downstream to the point where it gathers up, collects. It's got a water source, because it's raining so much that it collects to a point where it's considered a flash flood. So, we look at our next part of the update, which is going to be the Atlantic. So we're once again talking about the Atlantic. We've probably been talking about the Atlantic for a month straight, maybe probably more. But you can see we got so much activity going on right now. We'll start off with Franklin. Franklin is our strongest storm out there right now. It is a borderline. It's actually not quite a borderline, but it is, I believe, a Category 1 hurricane. It is definitely not nearly as developed and organized, but still got 90-mile-an-hour sustained winds and a central pressure at around 970 millibars. This is not going to. This is not going to be in the way of any system. It's just minding its own business out here, free up in the open Atlantic. It's going to move into the North Atlantic and then just become an ex-tropical system. We're done with Franklin, okay? Next, we have Idalia, which is a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It's a 994 millibar, low pressure center of the storm. It is moving very, very fast. Idalia is trying its best to get out of the United States. It's moving at swiftly at 20 miles per hour due east. So it's potentially going to get a little bit closer to Jose, which is a newly formed tropical storm. We do have now Tropical Storm Jose, but I think that it's going to move due east, and then once it kind of gets closer to these two other tropical systems, it's going to start turning back to the United States, and then kind of just run away from it, as there will be some more room made as Franklin gets out of the way. It's going to kind of look like that, okay? Next, again, we have Tropical Storm Jose, just formed, I think, this morning. We did have TD11, which was kind of sticking around for just a few days. We didn't know exactly if it was going to form or not. It did decide to form. It as a Tropical Storm Jose right now. 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds, very slow, north at 7 miles an hour. Now, it's another one of those fish storms. Does not impact the United States. So we're fine with Jose. And then behind it, which I'm most concerned about, is Invest 94L. So we really got to watch the system, because in front of it, there is a lot of moisture. There's weak wind shear, and the conditions, the atmospheric conditions, are favorable for strong development, and also the storm drifting into that area that we don't want it to go, which is, the Gulf of Mexico. So right now, it's kind of in this area here. I think what we're gonna see is we're gonna see the storm kind of move like this. It's gonna kind of do its own thing out here, and then you see it gets a little closer to the United States. If it gets to a point where it's a hurricane at this point, I think we're gonna see the storm kind of move like that. It was way too early to make any decisions on where we think the storm's gonna go. But I'm just saying this is a potential track. I think that just based off of the information that we have already, it's possible that we'll see a track look something like this. Maybe it'll run through the Lesser Antilles, like some other storms did earlier in the season. We had Cindy, Brett, and it'll probably be a tropical storm if it moves through there. But then we'd have to watch if it can get to this point here in the Caribbean. So we gotta watch Invest 94L very, very closely. Right now, it's got a high 80% chance of development through the next 48 hours and the next 7 days. So it's looking like the storm is probably going to form tonight or sometime tomorrow. In front of it, we have a tropical disturbance out here with a 20% chance of development through the next 7 days. Again, this is going to be pretty much in that same environment with favorable conditions for development. So I think this one also has a decent chance of developing. And then we have the remnants of Gert, tropical storm Gert. It now has a 30% chance of development, although we will see a trough dig down. It'll kind of swing down and pick up the storm, and then those unfavorable upper level winds will really just kind of take this storm away. It'll probably do the same thing to Jose, but I think Franklin could get out of the way fast enough to do its own thing out here in the way up in the North Atlantic. So it's like that's all I got for the wide view of the Atlantic. We'll look at now the GFS. We'll look at the latest model run, just looking at which storms have the highest potential to develop according to our latest model guidance here. So we see both, well, former hurricanes out here. We have currently Hurricane Franklin, 978 millibar hurricane moving up into the North Atlantic. Behind it, we have tropical storm Idalia that moved through Florida. And so those two are pretty much done for the most part. Idalia, again, we're going to have to look at it. We're going to have to watch it, see where it goes, because it might try and get back closer to the United States after it moves into the Atlantic. We'll watch that. Okay? And this is, let me go back. This is Jose. Okay, Jose is in that kind of area with all these tropical cyclones going on at once. Jose is very, very weak. You can see it's so tiny. It literally runs into runs into Hurricane Franklin, and it pretty much gets swallowed up by Hurricane Franklin. That bothers Franklin though, and it'll just do its own thing out there. Okay, here are the remnants of Gert. This is what's going on right here. Okay, the GFS has it form a low pressure center. Doesn't do much with it, so it's looking like the best it could do is form a tropical storm. But I'm not sure what the rule is, if it would go back to Gert since it's the remnants, or if it just gets the next name on the list. I'm not sure, but that definitely look according to the GFS has a chance to develop. Behind it, I guess this would be Invest 94L. Yeah, this is Invest 94L. So it's looking like, according to the GFS, it's just going to move kind of like this and then like that. So it's looking like it's going to form very, very fast. You can see we're already up to a tropical storm by tomorrow. So I really think that as early as tomorrow morning, we could have tropical depression 12, and then I think sometime like late tomorrow we're gonna get a tropical storm out of this. I'm not sure what the next name is on the list though, but the storm continues moving northwest. We still get some more rotation here, so a lot of things are happening at once. I'm trying to keep up with it, but this is Invest 94L, and does pretty much does nothing after that. Okay, and then I want you to watch these two suckers right here. Okay, this one's probably going to be Invest 95L. This one's probably going to be Invest 96L. I think these two systems, according to the last GFS runs, we've been seeing some more like likeliness of these storms having a chance to become not only tropical cyclones but maybe hurricanes. Okay, we've really got to pay attention to these because, like I said earlier, I think I believe that there are some very favorable conditions for development right in our main development region, right near the Lesser Antilles. So we gotta watch these systems because they may take advantage of that. So right off the bat, you can see that this tropical wave here wasted no time to get going. Probably a high end tropical storm and maybe a low end Category 1 hurricane. Here it goes. Yep. At this point, this will be a Category 1 hurricane. At the same time, we get another system right here. This is just west of the Lesser Antilles. This develops into a 991 millibar high end tropical storm. Okay. Let's see what they both do. Okay, this one out here, according to the GFS, I'm telling you, this is not going to happen. It's way too far out to make any decisions on what's going to happen here. But this is all this is telling us is just that there's a signal for development of this specific storm. The latest GFS run has this thing turning into a hurricane, 966 millibar hurricane, probably a Category 2 hurricane, 955. So far, the strongest that the GFS suggests that the storm will get up to is probably a Category 2, Category 3 hurricane, but only out in the central Atlantic. So I don't think that storm's really going to bother us in terms of where it's going, according to the latest GFS, but it definitely has a chance to become something really strong. Then in front of it, I guess this would be. Hold on. I guess in front of it, these would be the future remnants of Jose. Okay, this would be the remnants of Jose, and yeah, it does try and form. It tries to form a another tropical system, and at this point right here, you can see it's got some rotation. At this point, even though you don't really see a low pressure symbol right here, I think you could have a tropical storm again. If this were to be true, which is definitely not going to be true. Again, it's way too far out, 312 hours out, so it's way too far out to say anything about this. But again, it's looking like maybe sometime after Jose just kind of um, fizzles out, I think we could get another system out of it. But you can see the other system that kind of wandered off into the Caribbean. It's at this point would be moving towards Cuba as a tropical storm, but it's entering those favorable waters where just exactly where Idalia was. A place where we don't want it to get it is right in here. If it moves like this and then turns a little bit further west and then goes north, that's gonna be bad. That's gonna be the worst case scenario. Okay, but just for this run, I know this is not gonna happen because this is way too far out. But there's a signal according to this run that the storm could potentially move a little bit further north and then curve to the northeast a little bit later. So that would be good. That would help that would just help keep the storm out of the way. So no, based on this model run, it's looking like we will definitely see more activity continue as we get closer to the peak of hurricane season. um, I would say from now to where we are here, the 16th, I think we're going to get one or two more hurricanes. I think we're going to get 1 to 3 more tropical storms. I think that's what we're going to see. So it's going to be very active. That's expected, and that's certainly going to happen. I just don't know how strong each storm is going to get and how far they develop. So um, I'm going to quickly just show you guys the just the kind of the moisture that's going to be in the air here when the storms get to the point where they could develop. Okay, so we'll put this where we are now. You can see clearly the most favorable area for development is definitely in this area where both Idalia and Franklin have made it. Okay. Uh, Jose is currently struggling against some shear up here in the central uh, in the central Atlantic. There is some strong ridging out here. 1,023 millibars of high pressure, really close to the storm, trying to grab it and just take control of it. Also, some very very dry air. There is a huge plume of dry air that's about to really just sweep across the Atlantic, bothering both Idalia and Franklin. That's why we're not seeing either of them get close to the United States. This is what's helping us out. We also have some high pressure ridging up in the northern United States. Okay, we look behind where our main development region is. There are some very very moist air. There's some very very moist air out here in that region, and that's going to be a big reason why we're going to see some development. But I don't think it's going to last that long, because soon these storms are going to get going, and then they're just going to run into this dry Saharan dust, and it's going to pretty much just take control of that. But then another plume of moisture comes in with these two other tropical waves, and then they kind of ride with the moist air. Okay, and there will be an opening. And so far, looking at around the 10th of September, we will maybe get an opening here, a slight opening of the drier and the moist air for maybe a system to get into here. Okay, this is definitely going to change. This is not what's going to happen. We're going to have changes with this, but we may have here and there some pockets, some areas that where some tropical systems could escape that Saharan dust and maybe get loose up here in the Atlantic. That is certainly possible, but look at this. We're right at the peak of hurricane season. This is a bad set. I'm telling you guys, this is not good. We're at the peak of hurricane season. This is 2 days, literally 2 days after the peak of hurricane season, and we see the Gulf loaded with moisture. I mean, look at all these. I mean, you could see these dew points. I guess these would be dew points where just the humidity percentage our gauge here. We're all the way up to around 99, 70, 99 relative humidity. So it is very, very moist and humid out here, which is certainly supportive for development of tropical systems. But we also have the warmest waters of the entire world right in this area. So let me tell you guys, right around the peak of hurricane season, I would say the most favorable area for tropical development in the Atlantic is certainly going to be in the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of Mexico. So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So we really got to keep all eyes on the tropics, even after Idalia. Okay, you guys in Florida can have a rest. You guys can just continue working on the recovery, because I don't think we're gonna. It's gonna be a long time until we get back to potentially thinking about any tropical system moving close to the United States. But for the rest of us, just keep all eyes on the tropics. Okay, it's looking like our weather pattern has kind of calmed down out here in the mainland of the United States. So we're not seeing much action over here. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch, and we'll see you guys in the next video.